already know. This nigga 22 G's. You know what I'm talking about?
Before 22 G's would pioneer the Brooklyn drill rap scene with hit songs like Blicky, Up Next, and Suburban. Before 22 G's would let the entire world know that he's not a fan of whoopty rapper CJ and dropped his diss track Goofy. Before 22 G's would have over 186,000 subscribers on YouTube, 17,000 followers on Twitter, and 387,000 followers on Instagram at the time of this recording. 22 G's is a rapper born and bred in the city of Brooklyn. And before he had even turned 20 years old, he arguably helped create an entire new form of music emanating from his hometown, a genre that came to be known as Brooklyn drill.
Brooklyn drill, but when 22 G's came with that Suburban, if you think about all the flows that these rappers use now, is mine. Shout out to Pop Smoke, RP Pop Smoke. He made it worldwide too.
Yes. Global.
Yeah, but that's kind of where the Brooklyn drill started, around that era, like our era, you feel me?
It was his song Suburban that really opened up the possibilities for the genre, as he injected the single with the type of cockiness and swagger that always seems to be found in the most famous of East Coast rappers. But a life steeped in the streets would almost blow up 22 G's success story before it could be realized. Because just as he was catching on, 22 G's would go to jail for catching something else entirely. A body. Hey, what's poppin', guys? It's your boy Marlon Palmer, back at it again with a brand new video. This one taking a look at the come up of 22 G's, the man dragging CJ through all your social media posts these days. 22 G's might still be young as hell, but he is an integral piece to the NY drill movement, and I'm gonna be filling you guys in on how he helped shape the genre. Now, I know when it comes to NY drill, a lot of people say, you know, it's Bobby and Rowdy, or some people say it's Chef, and to be honest, we might never know. But what we do know is that 22 G's impact was felt. Be sure to let me know what you guys think of the story by following me on Instagram at DadDoMcFly. Let's get into the story. Tutu G's was born Jeffrey Alexander on November 29, 1997 in Brooklyn, New York. Growing up in the section of the town known as Flatbush, 22 G's had had his fair share of trials and tribulations. Before he was even born, his father passed away, then his older brother was sentenced to 16 years in prison. As a youngster with no real male role model to speak of, 22 G's hooked up with a whole bunch of kids around his own age from Flatbush and started performing dance moves on the subway in order to make some pocket change. He's probably one of those people annoying you on the way to work. I know.
I'm a ball player. I was a ball player.
Oh, he's balling? Okay.
Before I got into the street, and then this weed took a so when he wasn't supposed to be, I just started wilding with this shit. But yeah, it ain't about nothing though. I be vibing, bro. You feel me?
Yeah, that's a fact. What you was nice and ball for real? Like you was really on it, or just
I was decent. I was decent. If I was nice, I'd have made it to the league, you feel me?
As you just heard straight from his own mouth, 22 G's also had a special talent for basketball. He was almost good enough to consider becoming a professional ball player, but it was the world of hip hop that 22 G's really dreamt of making a career as a rapper, living up to some of his NYC idols like Jadakiss, 50 Cent, and Future. I can't count how many men say they almost made the league. We might need like an almost league, not the G League, but like an almost league.
All right, so who were some of the rappers growing up that inspired you?
Meek Mill, 50 Cent, Jadakiss, all the NYC artists. Young Thug too played a part, Chief Keef.
And today, like, who are some of your favorites?
Kodak, Key Glock, Stunner for Vegas, Moneybag Yo, and Youngboy.
Despite having a clear idea of what he wanted to accomplish with his life, it wouldn't be a smooth journey for this young man. In 2014, when he was still only 16 years old, he was charged with conspiracy to commit murder. According to Brooklyn Supreme Court records, he and 3 other affiliates who were believed to be gang members of Flatbush Gang, known as Young Savages, were accused of planning to kill rival gang members from a group known as Only the Fields. Ultimately, 22 G's was never convicted of the crime, but it wouldn't be the last close call he'd have before exiting his teens. In the meantime, though, after having nearly escaped that first stint behind bars, 22 G's turned to music in order to change his ways. In 2016, he dropped his very first song, titled Blicky, under the stage name we know him by today, which combines aspects of his childhood with his street life. The 22, pronounced Tutu, is a reference to Tulane Avenue, an address in New Orleans where his parents were living when they discovered they were pregnant with him, while GZ was then added on to represent his own gang affiliations.
Blicky means me, twirl, gang, us. I mean, Flatbush.
With that first track, 22G says he was just experimenting, but with his next release, Suburban, he would stumble upon something truly unique. This breakout single was widely considered the first major hit to lay out a blueprint for what the Brooklyn sound would become. With its raw intensity and bass-heavy production from the now legendary Axl beats, it created immediate hype around this young star. Before he knew it, 22G's was on his way up, and he wasn't the only one. In the year that followed the release of Suburban, fellow Flatbush rapper Chef G responded with his own track No Suburban, which latched onto the momentum that 22G's had already generated. Later, songs like Pop Smoke, Welcome to the Party, and Fabio Foreign's Big Drip would further cement this new sound as a force to be reckoned with within the industry. But according to 22G's himself, none of this would be possible if it wasn't for him. This self-declared general and drill pioneer had this to say about the subject to Complex. I started most of this stuff from scratch. The flows, the bars, even the swag is mine. I'm not gonna say I'm the first person to ever do this. Don't get me wrong, there's other artists. You had GS9 and Bambino, but Suburban was for the younger crowd, my crowd. There was no such thing as Brooklyn Drill when the other songs was out. That's the type of cocky statement that you'd expect from a rapper out of Brooklyn, and truthfully, he ain't wrong. 22G's was the first rapper to adopt Axl Beats production. At the time, this UK producer was only 15 years old, and he became the main ingredient when it comes to most successful Brooklyn Drill tracks, earning credit with everyone from Chef G to Travis Scott and Drake.
So you did, which 22G's beat you did before?
Suburban.
Suburban? Oh, man.
Yeah.
But 22G's was the first rapper to discover Axl's tracks on YouTube and borrow them for his own song Suburban without asking permission. Despite just taking what he found and rolling with it, Axl was impressed with what 22G's was able to create, and the two forged a strong professional relationship from that point forward. Following the success of that track, 22G's pushed himself even further with new singles like Up Next, Vamanos, and We On. At this point, 22G's journey to the top of the Brooklyn rap scene was as good as complete. But then something happened in the spring of 2017 that would set him back yet again.
19-year-old Jeffrey Alexander allegedly shot and killed 30-year-old Ladarian Tyrell Phillips of Homestead. Alexander then fled to Alton Road and 6th Street with his 3 friends, say police, one of whom died after being shot by the cops.
His murder and extradition charges made headlines all over. 22G's was arrested and charged with second-degree murder with a deadly weapon. And here's what actually happened that night. 22G's was riding around Miami in a white BMW with 3 other men when the driver of his vehicle attempted to parallel park in a spot that was too small. They would end up hitting a gold Buick whose owner witnessed the accident from across the street. When they confronted 22G's and his crew, the driver pulled out a weapon and fired it at the 2 men who approached them, one of whom was killed, the other was badly injured. But things didn't stop there. Instead of waiting for the cops to show up, 22G's and his crew jumped back into the BMW and led the police on a high-speed chase. When Miami Beach police officers opened fire on the vehicle, they killed the driver in the process. At the time, 22G's was alleged as the shooter by the surviving man who was attacked, but after further investigation, the police determined it had been the driver who pulled the trigger. 22G spent 5 months in prison before being released and having his charges dropped. When he returned home to Brooklyn, he found that the drill scene had progressed without him, thanks to some of the names I mentioned earlier. Still, his talent was unquestionable enough that Atlantic Records offered him a deal through Kodak Black's Sniper Gang imprint. Meanwhile, his friends and family encouraged him to throw all his efforts into his music to avoid a repeat of the situations he had barely managed to crawl his way out of. With the support of people around him, 22G's would return to the studio and start recording music for his debut mixtape, The Blicky Tape, which he dropped in July of 2019 and featured the hit song Spin the Block. Ready to reclaim the throne he felt he never vacated in the first place, the release of Suburban Part 2 would reinstate 22G's as the preeminent force in the world of Brooklyn Drill and became his biggest hit record to date. Following that, he was banned in 2019 from performing at Rolling Loud in New York City, along with other rappers like Pop Smoke and Chef G, who the NYPD believed would incite violence if things were allowed to perform. But 22G's is no longer a stranger to controversy, and instead of letting something like that get to him, he got into the studio and worked even harder on 2 next projects. His most recent mixtape, Growth and Development, which dropped in April of 2020, and his forthcoming debut studio album, which he's hinted might move away from Brooklyn Drill sound to focus on new flavors. In the meantime, he's just happy with where he is in his journey, and he told Complex, "I'm happy because I know what the worst could be. It can always go left, so I thank God and I'm happy. I work hard to make sure shit will never turn left again." As for whether that promise will hold up, well, I think we're gonna have to wait and end this video here. After all, this is before they're famous. What do you guys think of 22G's story? Do you consider him the forefather of Brooklyn drill scene? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't argue too much. No shooting, no fighting, no gang set throwing up. Just let us know what you think in the comments below. Follow us on Instagram at Before They're Famous, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye.